Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, thank you very much for your patience. I would like to ask the gentleman who is responsible for the presentation to launch the presentation named A.G.E.N.D.A Mining You. My dear colleagues upstairs in Control Center. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. First of all, my name is A.G.E.N.D.A, St. Petersburg Mining University. Unfortunately, it's slight changes to the program because our colleagues from St. Petersburg, which had to arrive at the session, their flights have been postponed and they are still on their way to Rabat. Let me express my deepest gratitude for the invitation and opportunity to participate in this key event in the sphere of higher education. Our conference is called Shaping the Future of Higher Education for Innovation and Sustainable Development of Africa, but actually it's much wider in my understanding. It's much wider thanks to the authority of the Association of African Universities, the broad representation of African and not only African universities, the leadership of AAU, as well as the fact that being outside the politics, the association is a recognized and leading voice in the field of higher education. And we can say that the topic is much broader because the future of higher education is the future of global world. And the future of global world, it's a future of the world itself, the future of our countries, the future of our children, and it's very important. Well, let me start with saying that Industrial Revolution of the 18th and subsequent century, they marked the beginning of era of advanced consumption of mineral resources and energy. Due to the large-scale improvements in production, the introduction of assembly lines, the sewing machine, the internal combustion engine, etc., those revolutions changed the whole world forever. They also changed the Africa, but in some peculiar way. Africa turned out to be the role of the supplier of the very resources that the Western world needed for the accelerated development. But Africa itself didn't get this development. Instead, Africa got colonialism. According to the United Nations, probably 17 million of Africans were taken into slavery, probably as much more have died on the way. Some researchers estimate that number like 50 million people. 50 million is the population of the Republic of Korea today, or Spain, or Argentina, so you imagine much better than me, the amount of damage, if I may put it. The economic damage is not less, it's estimated like $777 trillion. And the African states de facto lack the sovereignty, didn't allow them to resist the colonial aspiration of the developed metropolis. Well, the year 1960 is supposed to mark the end of colonial era. In December this year, the United Nations General Assembly, on the initiative of the Soviet Union, adopt the Declaration 1415, Declaration of granting of the independence to colonial countries and people, and the colonial system as an event, as an epoch, as a culture, has been terminated. It is a national understanding. But As a matter of fact, even today, the colonialism in Africa has subsequences that still relevant. Africa is one of the most richest region in the world. Probably 1/3 of mineral resources is within Africa's subsoil. 8% of world's natural gas reserves, 20% of oil, 40% of gold, and etc. And it is not surprising that Africa remains an object of Western expansion even today. Colonial dependencies has transformed into neo-colonial, and it is probably increasing from year to year. This dependence is expressed in the fact that the continent doesn't set the rules in the most important and practically the unique market available to the export of mineral raw materials. The continent only accepts the rules set by others, the former metropolis. What sort of the rules? For example, in 2019, the European Investment Bank announced the stop of financing the use of fossil fuel by 2021. So definitely it is a ban on financing the use of fossil fuel. Several international financing institutions, including the World Bank, has joined the initiative. In 2025, African Development Bank, Africa, with record investment of $11 billion on the continent, allocated half of that sum to finance the climate change combat, not the development in a sense of development of soil. And it happens today that Africa, which is 125 billion barrels of proven oil reserve, 620 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, has more than 600 million inhabitants, which is more than half of population, people that do not have access to electricity. By the number 2020, that number probably will increase by 70 million more. More than 900 million people do not have access to environmentally friendly fuel for cooking. And at the same time, European Union adopts European taxonomy for sustainable activities. That was in 2022. That regulation classifies natural gas as a transitional energy and allows their financing within its borders. Hence, in Berlin and Brussels, natural gas is considered essential for energy security, but it is prohibited in Lagos or Dakar or whatever, any place in Africa. Probably it a little bit looks like double standards. The important question is, who then manage the Africa resources? Today is 100 years ago. Of 101 key companies listed on the London Stock Exchange and mining operations doing in 37 sub-Saharan countries. The majority are British companies. I don't know whether there are Englishmen in the auditorium. If so, I beg your pardon. That's not my figures. That belongs to independent sources. Those companies collectively control more than $1 trillion in resources and extract like 200 billion in revenue. If you want a recent example, okay, just a few days ago in White House, President Donald Trump arranged a summit with Western African countries, and he told them that he sees a great economic potential in Africa, and these countries have very valuable land, rich minerals, and large oil deposits. As a matter of fact, these 5 invited West African countries, they represent only a small share of US-African trade, but correct, they do possess significant mineral resources, including rare earth metals, manganese, uranium, etc. Today, African natural resources are being exploited without proper planning and control by states. It's according to recent research by independent company. The institutions of technical and environmental supervision, anti-monopoly regulation, and financial monitoring are weak or even not exist. As a result, the continent lost about 200 billion annually due to illegal financing flows, illegal mining, lodging, wildfire trade, etc. Most of promising areas are considered to be unexploited. It's a UN data. And exploration is often carried out illegally. Governments and regulators do not have official information, not only about discoveries, but also about the production on their territory. That is the reason for astonishing disparities in today's world. The population of global north, which is only 16% of the global population of the world, consumes probably more than half of rare materials. And the population of global south, which is on the contrary, 52% of the world population, consumes only 1/5 of the amount. Unfortunately or luckily, but there is no alternative to the investment development of mineral resources in Africa, because natural capital underpins the continent's economy and accounts for a huge amount of national wealth in most African countries. Driver of the development of the 21st century will be definitely the extraction and processing of raw materials based on advanced technologies. According to the recent APEC seminar in Vienna, the global economy demand for raw materials will only increase. 4.3 trillion is needed by the year 2030 to keep up with rapid growing demand for natural gas, for example. Entonces, hence, the overcoming loss for inefficient use of natural resources and illegal activities, replacing predatory concessional forms of mining with fair licensed ones, involving natural resources in economic turnover, monitoring their condition, and responsible conservation of resolving basic demographic imbalances and acute personnel problems. That is the success of Africa's development in the 21st century. How it happened, the lack of qualified personnel in Africa states. Not a difficult question. Colonialism, well known for its three noble goals: civilization, Christianity, commerce. As a matter of fact, the only real goal was always the commercial gain. The idea of whatever monopoly was to extract as much more income as possible and not to brought neither progress, nor knowledge, nor competence, nor technology to Africa. So there was actually no civilization in the sense of enlightenment or development or education. The training of local qualified personnel capable of independently developing their own resources was never in the plans of former metropolises. By the year 2050, as everybody heard several times today, the number of working-age people in Africa may double from current 850 million to 1.6 billion. It is the estimates of Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. However, the quality and volume of national staff training in Africa remain pretty low. Why so? Global average of rate of higher education, you already heard these figures today, in general 35%. In Europe and United States, 79%. Most African countries do not achieve these figures, and in Sub-Sahara it's only 9%. The share of successfully completed their higher education students in Europe and the US increased during the last 20 years by 16 points to 45%. In Africa, also increased, but very little, only to 4%. African student could increase his income, every African student, by 11% for each additional year of study. It's the greatest return in the world from the education, but this is not happening yet. Many African graduates from the global North universities stay in their host countries because of the opportunities in the labor market as they see it. I'll try that. Training in African university doesn't provide the competencies required by the local economy. Additional programs are focused primarily on public sector needs, while knowledge and skill needed by the private sector are completely ignored. And African universities lack both in quantity and quality the competence necessary for mineral sector, that is UN data. Our proposal is the joint staff training on principles not warrantance but inviolability of human resources. We, St. Petersburg Mining University, is leader in Russia in the process of improving the training of engineering personnel. The outcome of that national experiment is a national experiment launched in 2023, will be replicated in all national universities in Russia. Our educational model is based on fundamental principles of UNESCO at national level, training in interests of priority sectors of economy, and in global world, internationally recognized professional certification and qualification. I will skip some extra slides, and I would like to say that today, industry needs a massive entry into labor market of young engineers with deep theoretical base and practical skills. Special will not only have a diploma, but also possess a certain set of competencies. That is our university offer to the universities of African countries, and I would like to say that we already have established close relations with many of them within the Consortium Subsoil of Africa. My colleagues will give you some more details about that. And finally, I would like to say, to draw your attention to the fact that our proposal have a very good correspondence with the strategical Africa document, Agenda 2063, which call for commit to speed up actions to transform, grow, industrialize our economy through beneficiation and value addition in natural resources, implementing Africa Industrial Development Action Plan, the Africa Mining Vision on country, regional, and continental level, in particular fast-tracking the establishment of Center for African Mineral Development. That is where the St. Petersburg Mining University can help colleagues. And I would like to let you know that several months ago, a monument has been unveiled in Moscow, very close to the place where I live. It's a monument to a great man, Nobel Prize winner, President of South Africa in 1999, Nelson Mandela. Just 3 days ago, the world celebrated Nelson Mandela United Nations Day. And, you know, during the whole his life, this gentleman is struggling to make the world better. He definitely knew what to do that. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. That are his words delivered in 2003, and I believe they are still relevant today. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience, and thank you for the presentation on Russia educational system. And I think that is new to us. Many of us are just knowing about the system we operate there. This session from Russia presentation will be the last for today. The Science for Africa presentation will be shifted. Will be coming up tomorrow. But please, there is a second portion to this presentation that will just be for about 2 or 3 minutes before we round up.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, it's quite hard for me to be the last presenter because I'm standing between you and the end of the day, the hot day. But I'll try to be quite effective. My name is Evgeny and I'm the Vice Rector for International Activities of St. Petersburg Mining University. My colleague already mentioned what the university is, and well, it is my pleasure and my honor to be here. Thank you very much that you invited us and that you gave us an opportunity even at that time to make the presentation and to show you what we are doing in Russia, what we are doing in our mining university. In fact, our mining university is the oldest technical university in Russia. It was founded in 1773, and we have even a joke that we are older than the United States are. Well, this is not the joke, this is the fact, the mining is nowadays is just the brand. We are dealing not with mining. We are fully polytechnical university. We train students for all range of specialities dedicated to mineral resources sector, from prospecting and exploration till, well, transportation, processing, and so on and so forth. And that's why, well, you see that we also have the uniform, but we are not military people, we are civil people. Yeah, this is just a tradition for our university because 200 years ago, students wear the uniform and we decided to bring it back. That's why, well, I'd like to show you what we are doing in our university, and maybe it can be interesting also for your universities. As Sergey mentioned, we also organized the Subsoil of Africa Consortium of universities. Unfortunately, Professor A.G.E.N.D.A is delayed because of the cancelled flight, and he is on his way to Rabat. That's why tomorrow will be here, and I hope he will make his presentation regarding Subsoil of Africa. But at the beginning, I'd like to show you a small video regarding the university, just 2 minutes, because on my opinion, it's better to see instead of to hear several times. And Prof. Said, thank you very much that you participated in our previous event. He saw our university and maybe he also can share his vision. That's why I'd like to show a small video and then few comments before the end of this day.
We understand the vital importance of cultivating skilled engineers for our country. We are eager to discuss the following topics: the integration of digital technologies into higher education, the strategies we employ to build and enhance our infrastructure, the educational, scientific, and social environments we have developed, our methods for training personnel for the real sector of the economy, the collaborative efforts between the university, companies, and educational institutions within academic partnerships, how we can unlock each individual's potential while fostering a highly moral and responsible character, the role of regular sports classes as a fundamental aspect of student life, the significant changes that have occurred among applicants, students, graduates, and faculty members. Thanks to our abilities, we attained our goal. We established a higher standard of engineering education for the 21st century by emphasizing foundational knowledge, essential for life. Our approach fosters a worldview and logical thinking grounded in professional skills and personal experience. The advancements in higher engineering education, spearheaded by Mining University, will cultivate and prepare Russia's future engineers, while facilitating a quantum leap in the mining sector and the processing of mineral resources. The Empress Catherine II Mining University. We cherish our traditions. We shape the future for the good of Russia.
Thank you so much. And we truly believe in Russia that our sovereignty of the country depends on the mineral resources sector and on the specialists who deal with that mineral resources sector. As Dr. Ivanets mentioned in his presentation, we also truly believe that there are a lot of mineral resources in African countries, but unfortunately, there are no specialists who can, who can dig them, who can use them in the economy of the country, for the country. That's why our opinion is that our experience also can help to the African countries to grow up together. In fact, nowadays, higher education became the most important thing for the economic growth of every country. Well, if it is possible, I will not read the slide because I will go on. Yeah, well, to be shorter. In Russia, we decided to change our educational system. Well, this is the experiment. It doesn't mean that we will change everything, but we have today the experiment where we decided to cancel the bachelor and masters, and maybe not to cancel them, but to organize the educational process for 6 years. It means that we will have 4 years plus 2 years, like a bachelor, additionally master's degree, and we call it a training of engineer or specialist, as it was in Soviet Union, but we used that Soviet Union system with the experience of the last 30 years, and we call it higher engineering education in our university. Of course, we also have PhD programs, like postgraduate programs, but we asked ourselves for what we should do to do them better, because we asked themselves, who are our colleagues in the university? Who are the lecturers? Who train the lecturers? Who teach the lecturers to teach? Yeah? And we answered that nobody before gave them that knowledge. That's why our PhD programs nowadays train for university lecture, because we give the special training for higher educational staff, and the second part, of course, science, like a research scientist. Well, what we do for higher engineering education? The first 2 years is the basic engineering education, where we give the basic knowledge, like physics, mathematics, chemistry, and so on and so forth. Then students go for introductory practice for companies, where they see if their specialty is really that they want to work in future. If everything is okay, they took the step 2, engineering major, where we gave them the general knowledge in their specialty. After that, they have the work experience internship for 4 months. And the last 2 years is specialization, the narrow specialization, after which they should take final year internship for 6 months, half a year, and then prepare the diploma thesis and defend it. It means that the total length of the educational process is 6 years, and among that 6 years, 1 year is, in fact, internships. Why we do that? Because we truly believe that the engineer should have practices. Yeah, I try to be fast. Should have practices. Of course, we try to give them the opportunity to get that practices in our university. How we try to give them that practices? First of all, we try to give them during the educational process. When we created 7 training grounds and research grounds in our university with the different subjects, and we gave that practical knowledge at the university. And after they get that practical knowledge at the university, they go to the companies, to our industrial partners, more than 100 industrial partners, and get the real experience. This is the example of our training and research ground, Sablina. I will not also explain you a lot about it, but well, I can just say that this is the unique place where we have, for example, it is specialized in drilling, where we have the full-size drilling rig that can drill the borehole up to 2,000 meters, and we have already 400-meter borehole drilled by students. It means that students drilled it by themselves and, well, get the practical skills. And the second step also, the science. We have separate research center where we give for students some research skills, because we also plan that some of them, let's say up to 15%, will be our colleagues, will be researchers. That's why we'd like to give them that skills, and we gave them in our scientific center that are a bit separated from educational process, but in fact, they work together closely with the educational process. Well, the conclusions. I can say that most of the states with weak economy possesses abundant natural resources, as I said at the beginning, but, well, have an efficient governmental regulation of subsoil use. And we try to give the understanding how that should work on the basis of Russian experience. That's why we also train students not just from Russia, but from outside, to give them that knowledge and that experience. And we also sure that the question of sovereignty should become one of the highest priority of UN and of UNESCO. And it is connected with, as I said, mineral resources sector, the first one, and the second step, it is connected with the education. And maybe the last one, I'd like just to announce that at the end of October, we will have the Russian-African raw materials dialogue. We are inviting you to participate in that dialogue because most of the participants we are inviting will be the ministers relevant to the mineral resources sector, to the higher education, and of course, directors and vice chancellors of the university. We will host it in our university. That's why if you have an opportunity, we'll be glad to see you in St. Petersburg at the end of October, and we can provide some additional information regarding that. I tried to be short, but if you have additional questions, we will stay here till 25th, and we will be glad to answer all the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you for this Russian experience that you exposed us to. Professor A.G.E.N.D.A, I guess that many of us know him, the former Vice Chancellor of Admiralty University in Nigeria. So, and he's now in Russia, working with the university there, I guess. So we want to appreciate you, and just for you to remember that you are one of our presenters.
How do you call that? Magnificent. Thank you so much.